right? Because there's
Yes.
sex addiction, sex offense. And there's a lot of folks in the media recently who, especially with the Me Too movement, which has really highlighted a lot of unspoken stuff.
Yes.
But I think that the part of the conversation that's often missing is our field of psychology. And how do we view these people? Do we see this person as somebody who obsessively and compulsively behaves in ways that are unhelpful despite the negative consequences in their life? And if that's the case, do we firstly believe that the justice system is what's going to correct that? Or do we think that maybe the justice system in concert with somebody like Whitney and a gifted therapist who really approaches this from a human side and says, hey, can we analyze where this behavior started? What's going through your mind? Do you desire to hurt people, or are you living out some pain in your own life? But I think that the scandal of the word sex, as soon as the public hears that, they go, ooh, they're a monster.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, guys, it's really easy to label somebody for something that your parents definitely did. But as soon as we talk about sex, it's like, whoa, this is not okay. And now I'm going to have to mark this podcast as explicit.
Yeah.
And more people will listen because I did. But I mean, Whitney, speak to that. This misconception that's out there. As soon as anybody uses the word sex, everybody cringes. Even our colleagues can sometimes really just, bat an eye at this and go, whoa, that's absurd. That's different psychology. Those are the monsters. And they're so human, though, once they get in your office.
They are. They really are what I call normal teenagers. When I talk to people, the ones who I mentioned before ask me, how can you work with that population? They're normal teenagers. They go to regular public high school. They deal with similar issues, that every teen deals with. And they're normal.
Yeah.
And I don't think people assume that. They assume, there's some creeper or monster or something. And it's not. You would never know them if you saw them on the street.
Right.
Right. Yep. Good point.
Yeah, very good point. And yes, there is a taboo surrounding the word sex and anything attached to it, which is unfortunate. And I'm hoping with the Me Too movement that it will at least bring light to the subject enough that we can talk about it as a society.
Right.
Especially for young people, because another important thing I'd like to mention is that these teens usually leave my office saying, I wish that I could have had meetings with you like this or worked through this workbook before, and I would have been able to talk to someone about my sexual thoughts or feelings or known what to expect. I don't really know how to
But
put
it's
that.
so taboo. And that's something, gosh, I hope the whole listener crowd just heard what Whitney said. This is one of the things that really bothers me. And again, I'm climbing back up on my soapbox. But if we were talking about drug offenders, everybody would assume that they're a drug addict first and that they offend in this way, in these illegal capacities, because of some malfunctioning going on in their psychology, right? But when we talk about sex offenders, nobody thinks sex addict, nobody thinks sexually traumatized, nobody thinks sex victim. We just think weirdo monster. And guys, it's time to get past that. But what bothers me too is, like, in the Me Too movement, we'll highlight somebody like Harvey Weinstein, who is a guy who's extremely problematic and has some serious issues, and many of them are legal, and he needs to face the full scope of justice. And I'd be saying that if he was a heroin addict. But as soon as he said, I might be a sex addict, I need to go get treatment, everybody said, oh, what a cop-out. And as a psychology professional, I was like, no, he's admitting that he probably does have this problem, and he's 100% responsible for the consequences of that disease.
Right. Doesn't eliminate.
Doesn't absolve you. But people are very unsatisfied with that. Because if you say sex addict, they're like, oh, sure, I'll bet you are. And it's like, no, that's a real thing, guys. We will diagnose that. Like, we will acknowledge this is real, and we will treat it. But, it's something that the public consciousness isn't quite ready for.
Yeah.
So, Whitney, what advice do you have, or how can parents or anybody who's going through this, are there any resources or any advice that you can give them?
Definitely for parents, I would say it can be intimidating to talk to your teen about any sexual behaviors that you find concerning. I highly recommend being involved in their social media accounts and seeing what they are looking up on the internet. Pornography is available to them nearly 24 hours a day on their cell phones or their friends' cell phones. And to just be aware and keep an ongoing open conversation with your teen about sex is so important, even though I totally get it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that is a common thread in the families that I work with. The parents do not want to talk about it or have not in the past. And it's a real breakthrough in our family sessions to be able to allow them space to open up, and their child can then feel more comfortable talking to them outside of the session.
And then educational resources or a direction they could go in to learn more?
So there is in Nevada, there's a Nevada chapter for the Association for the Treatment of Sexual Abusers, which spells ATSA. We call it ATSA.
Okay.
Anyone is allowed to be a member. I highly recommend going to their website and seeing the resources they have to offer. They send out a monthly book, I guess, that includes studies about adults and adolescents who sexually act out. And it is also a great resource for therapists out there who are looking to learn more about this population and maybe humanize it a little bit more. So
awesome. Gosh, it is so awesome to have you, Whitney. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
glad
Are
to
you
share.
able to stick around and answer some of our listener mail and give some folks some advice?
I guess I can stick around see
Now,
how helpful I can be.
She's saying that because Nick just walked to the door and locked it. So she just realized how deep she is into this. The only way out is through at this point.
Exactly.
What's the safe word?
That's right. Oh, sex therapists. They're the most fun of all of us.
Too comfortable.
Well, awesome, man. That's so exciting to have you. And thank you for sticking around. So we'll dive into some listener mail.
Okay. First one writes in, my friend is getting back with an ex who cheated on him. How can I be a good friend?
Yeesh.
Yeah. Hello. Last week, my good friend told me that he and his ex are getting back together after having been broken up for about a year. I never had any problems with her when they were together, and I got along with her really well. However, when they broke up, I learned that she had cheated on him many times. I felt devastated for my friend and have grown to dislike her. When consoling him, I expressed my dislike for her and tried to support him by saying that he's good to be rid of her, etc. Now that they're getting back together, I'm worried about, number one, how this will affect our friendship after I've said so many terrible things about her, and two, how do I overcome my dislike for her in order to be supportive of my friend?
Gosh, I have heard reiterations of this question so many times in life. I mean, the cheating factor is unique.
Oh, I've done this.
Yeah, right?
I've had a friend
Yeah.
this same thing happen to, and then
I feel like his first thing about how, well, I've said terrible things, you know what? That makes you a good friend. Like, if your friend has his heart broken by somebody, I hope you trash talk her. That's therapeutic. Like, that's cathartic. But then it's like, oops, I've kind of said things that you cannot takesies backsies.
yeah, it definitely makes things awkward. Yeah, if they get back together.
Well, Nick and I have worked together, and then when he leaves, I talk all this trash, and then we work together
When
at a
I
new
leave?
place. Well, yes, you've left twice at two different places.
No, I'm saying you talk trash while I'm there.
While you're there. Yeah, but see, the consistency is what helps, is because nothing I've said is new to him. What was your impression of that?
I think it's challenging with relationships, friendships, and their romantic relationships. I believe what I've personally learned is that if you have a problem with your friend's partner, you're better off just not really saying anything
to yourself.
after the fact. So, yes, once they found out she had cheated, I totally get, trash talking away to support your friend. After the fact, though, if his friend decides to get back with this girl, I believe you support your friend still, kind of like you said before.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of where I was going with it too. I was kind of thinking at this point, you just kind of have to bite the bullet and just be quiet about it. What has been said has been said. There's no sense. I don't think discussing it is going to make the situation any better. I think you just kind of have to go with it, continue to be supportive,
Yeah.
and let things unfold.
So my advice is this. I'm going to give you the same advice that I give to every politician I've ever met. Pivot and deny. Just pretend like you never said those things. Even though there's tape of it. Even though there's a video of you. Even though people overheard everything you said to that guy on that bus. Just ignore it. Just pretend like you didn't say it. Deny that the tape is real. No, but for real, honestly, what Nick said is accurate. What has been said has already been said. Your friend knows exactly what you thought at that time. However, you're able to take the position of, you're my friend and your happiness is what matters to me. If presently you are happy in this relationship, then presently I am supportive of it. When this relationship causes you to be unhappy or in pain, as your friend, I am presently unhappy with your relationship, and at that point, I will probably echo the things that you say. So I think if you can take a present mindset and give yourself permission to be authentically in the here and now, there is no conflict. You can just allow it to be something that's true today that wasn't true yesterday.
Right. And I think for the second question, which is how do I overcome my dislike for her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they're friends, there's going to be some couples get-togethers and things like that. And I think at that point, my advice would be just to try to look at where she's at now. Try to look at something positive. Try to focus on the good things about this individual. And I mean, it's just like any friend that you have conflict with. You're going to have to get over. You're going to have to resolve.
Yeah.
I did think, too, maybe him talking to his friend and asking him what made you want to get back together with her. Maybe that would help him view her differently, like Nick was saying.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
as long as your approach is curious and not condescending.
Yeah. Yes.
Because if you're like, so, why
What's
did you
the deal?
buckle? Yeah. What's going on with your spine? Is it missing? You know, because apparently you have no self-worth, Nick. You know? Sorry, that got dark fast.
I really don't like her. Help me understand you like
That's
about
condescending.
Her. That's condescending.
Yeah, but I think Whitney's right. If you can approach sincerely and curiously and say, hey, you know, I thought that you were definitely not going back, but obviously something changed, man, and I respect you. You're a sane person. I trust your judgment. So tell me, teach me what happened. But the other thing is this, you know, always give people the ability to change. And I think as three therapists sitting in a room, we would not be in business much longer if we didn't believe that people could change. And so they definitely can. And this person could be in the midst of a transition where they regret what they've done and they want to turn over a new leaf. That's always possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And be careful not to be waiting in the wings to say, I told you so. And if it doesn't work out, please decline to say that. That is not good for your friendship. Just be present and supportive and just go through the waves of pain with them, even if you saw it coming, and then refer them to therapy.
Yes.
We'll help put them back together again. Great question. Thank you for writing in.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Nick, our next question is titled, I did something wrong, I apologized, and my roommate still won't talk to me. My roommate overheard me call her mean. I don't normally say things if I don't mean it, and I do truly believe she is mean. However, I acknowledge that it was wrong to talk about her behind her back. I wanted to apologize as soon as I could. Unfortunately, the next time I saw her, she decided to completely ignore my existence. I managed to talk to her a day later because there were other people around, so she couldn't ignore me without calling attention to it. I apologized, and I asked if she was okay. She told me it was fine, but her feelings were hurt. This was about 3 days ago. I don't see her much now, but when I do, I try my best to smile and say hi to her. She still ignores me. Today, I walked out to go open the front door. She was sitting there and didn't acknowledge me when she normally would. I opened the door to let my boyfriend in, and she greets him as soon as he walks in. Being friendly, of course, he greets her as well. Her ignoring me doesn't bother me at all. The only thing that really bothers me is when she acknowledges my boyfriend in front of my face, because it's obviously a mechanism to make me feel angry. Am I right to be upset that she'll acknowledge my boyfriend in front of my face? Is my boyfriend right for not wanting to stop saying hello? It's not like either of us are friends with her, but I feel if he stops replying to her, it'll stop her from feeling like she has power over me, and I'll stop blistering whenever I think about her. But more importantly, what is the most mature route to take? Well, guys, as the least mature person in this room, I am definitely going to resign myself and hand it off.
Good move.
Yeah. Nick, first impression on that one. What are you thinking?
Well, my first impression on this, honestly, is I think there's some stuff that the writer is going to have to get over.
Yeah.
You know, some things are just. I guess the big thing I always like to ask people, my favorite piece of advice, and it's actually in the form of a question, as I like to ask my clients, is this the hill you're prepared to die on?
Right.
Is this the thing that you feel like this is so important to me that it is worth jeopardizing my relationship with my friend because she says hi to my boyfriend first?
Right.
If it is, fine, pursue it. If not, then maybe this is something that you just kind of need to let go and pick your battles. But the thing that I like about this question is that this addresses a big issue that a lot of people have, which is I've apologized, they haven't accepted it, and they keep bringing it up. In my line of work, working with addicts and alcoholics. This happens all the time because my clients are constantly apologizing for things that they did